Right, got the old spiced rum Coke with a slice of lime. I have to report that I've been a naughty boy today because I normally, after Miyako has a bath, give her what we like to call the bimbidi bom bom badoms. And what that is when she gets out of the bath, I sit on the toilet with the seat down, and she stands on my, like above my knees on my thighs, and I hold her, and then I shake her around and I go, bimbidi bom bom badom, bimbidi bom bom badom, ba ba da ba da ba bee ba 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 da ba da ba da ba da ba ba, and then at the end of it I go wee, and I throw her up in the air, and she loves it. But today, naughty daddy went to the pub to see his friend Brad, and I got a call from Miyako before bedtime, and she said, "Are you going to come home to give me the bimbidi bom bom badoms?" Because Claudia's pregnant, so she obviously can't be chucking a toddler around. And then I can go back to the pub apparently. But I said no, I couldn't do that. So I've promised to give her 2 bimbidi bom bom badoms tomorrow. And that's it. That's parenting. You go to the pub and you get a call saying, "Are we going to do the bimbidi bom bom badoms?" And without further ado, we shall cue the music. Ding, 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 ding. And welcome to episode 18 of the Just Swim podcast, the podcast entirely devoted to furthering the human species through talk and discussion. And perhaps on this episode, we'll be doing a little bit more of the talking side and a little bit less of the old chin-waggy discussion, as today I am a lone wolf, a lone ranger, venturing out into the wilderness of the podcasting world. So tonight I am the pilot. And with that in mind, ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome aboard Flight 4141. This is your captain, Just Swim Tim speaking. And I have some information about our flight. Our flight today will be approximately 1 to 2 hours, depending on any unforeseen circumstances, or a lack of imagination, or dangerous weather. And our estimated time of arrival is yet to be determined. The weather en route is looking good, for the most part, although we may experience some turbulence mid-flight, as by then I will be 2 or 3 drinks down, and hopefully so will you. The temperatures at our destination is a solid 41 degrees Celsius. We have reports of clear skies, sandy beaches, and rumours of apparent never-ending tranquility. May I wish you all a pleasant flight, and hope to see you again soon. On behalf of all of our crew, thank you for choosing Just Swim as your airline today. And as always, a safety reminder that should we crash mid-flight and end up in the ocean, we advise all passengers to do their best to just keep swimming. And that's it, guys. Always a bit, feels a bit premature when pilots say thank you before you take off. Thanks for choosing this airline before we take off. It's kind of like going to the till at a shop and someone saying thanks before you've paid for your items, or before you've purchased the product. You know, what if we don't make it? Do you I mean, yeah, I guess they still need to be thankful for their customers if they've bothered to get aboard a flight that doesn't make the destination. But hopefully today we will be making our destination. But it is strange to celebrate before you've managed the achievement. So I don't like flying. Do you like flying? It's always been a bit of a weird thing for me. I think the hardest part of flying is possibly taking off. And I don't mean going along the runway. That way's all fine. I think the taxiing is a bit stressful because you're sitting there like, oh, fuck, here we go, fuck me. Looking at the plane, looking at the fucking windows, like there's a bit of condensation on the windows. Does that mean there's an air pressure leak? Right, sometimes I like to kind of like just punch the wall softly next to me. It's always made of that flimsy plastic. not too sure about this one. And always, when I was younger, I used to fly with Ryanair, which was a cheap UK airline, which when I was a kid, we'd fly on that a lot. Obviously, budget flights when you're a family. So I'd never really go on any of the big planes. And I feel like those bigger planes are probably a bit more stable in the air. But Ryanair was always a wobbly one. And they always do this strange thing of they celebrate arriving on time. So you'll kind of land and they'll say, and we've landed in Belarus and it is 6:30. Just to remind you, you purchased a flight where we told you we'd most likely be arriving at 6:30, and it is 6:30. So please do tell your friends we have arrived on time, and Ryanair is fantastic. This is the 50,000th flight that we've done that's arrived on time. But yeah, that's just like, as I say, it's like going to the shop and you buy a bottle of milk and the guy says, this is the 50,000th bottle of milk I've sold. It's full of milk, trust me. It's full of milk. It's good stuff. But I guess it is harder to fly a plane, so a little bit of a difference. Well done, Ryanair, for your timely arrivals. But, I mean, the best bit of flying was always fighting for a window seat with my brother. So window seats were always the grand prize, something to be obtained. A windowless flight was very much a failure. As I've grown older, actually having an aisle seat is brilliant because of my long old legs. I'll be the chap spewing his legs out into the aisle, and if you walk past me to go to the toilet and I have to move my legs, God, I will look at you with fury. But I kind of remember growing older and realising that a window seat maybe wasn't the one, because when you're out at the window seat, you can see all the shit that's going on. You can see that you're flying through the air. You can see that there's things getting smaller on the ground away from you. When the plane tilts on its side and you can see the sky at the top, and then when the plane tilts the other side and you can just see the fucking ground, and it's just like, we aren't made. If humans were meant to fly, we'd have wings. So I don't really trust it. And I'm still here. I've never actually been in a plane crash, and I've been in car crashes. So there is that old statistic of how flying is so much safer than going in a car. But then, I don't know. If I went in a plane as much as I went in a car, if a circumstance did happen that went wrong, I'm pretty sure I'd have more chance of surviving whatever happened in a car than being in a plane X thousand amount of feet off the ground. How's flying for you? Are you big flyers? Do you love it? I can imagine flying a little biplane, like, you know, there's people like, oh yeah, I'm a pilot in my spare time. Yeah, I love a bit of flying. Oh, it's brilliant. I can imagine that being good. But then I also think that there's a level of responsibility, you know. I'm pretty bad at remembering things. Like, what if I didn't put enough fuel in and we just ran out of fuel in the air? I guess you'd just glide to the ground. But, you know, it's the same reason why I don't do paragliding. It's just all those wires or parachute. I'd jump off a cliff without the fucking parachute if I had a chance. Like, I'd just forget. So, yeah. When you forget things, you can't really afford to be a risk taker. But I'm meandering. Back to Ryanair. So I remember flying with Ryanair and getting the window seat. And this was when I realised that window seats aren't good, because I got a window seat that was next to the wing. And on these small planes, when you look at the wing and you're in the air, it just fucking wobbles. Wibbly wobbly, wibbly wobbly. And that's not what you want to see when you're someone who's a bit unsure of flight. You don't want to see a wobbly wing. And yeah, there's probably, you know, if Woody in his sense was here, then he'd probably be telling me, oh, well, the wings wobble for a good reason. The wobbling is what you need. It keeps you in the air. But to me, I just want to see a strong, sturdy wing. And there's another thing that I don't want to see, which is, I remember, and this sounds like bullshit, okay? But I promise you, like, if there's one thing I'm not going to bring to the table to the Just Swimcast, I'm not just going to make things up, because, you know, where would we get with that? We're trying to further the human species here. I can't take us down rabbit holes that don't exist. I remember looking out of the wing and there being duct tape. Duct tape might be a UK thing, so like sellotape, tape, like things you stick together with tape. And I remember looking out and seeing it, like there were strings of it like hanging off the back of the wing, but also there were parts and panels that also had that over it as well. And once again, I mean, I need someone who maintains planes here to just come on the podcast and tell me, oh yeah, well the duct tape is used to simply bring aerodynamic traction to the plane wing, which is always beneficial for the plane when flying on long flights. But I don't have that person here today, and I remember looking at a kid and saying to my brother, it's fucking duct tape on the wing, mate, and this is just as we're taking off. And it wasn't the most... it didn't bring confidence. So yeah, Ryanair never really filled me with much confidence in flight. I do kind of like it once you're like really going up in the air and you've kind of got through the clouds. There's something beautiful about looking down at all of the clouds, and I always look out like really trying to see like, oh, can I see a UFO? I just want to see something cool, like, but obviously you just see all these clouds, these candy floss clouds, and the world does look so much better from above. It does give perspective when you see all of the things disappearing, and it's almost I guess a feeling of going on holiday kind of resonates with the seeing the land you were leaving behind disappearing. It's kind of like almost like taking a poo, like the stress is being left behind, and you can see it getting smaller and smaller, and as you go through the clouds you just flush the chain, and that's it, you're in abyss. And there's an Ed Sheeran song which I can't remember what song it is, but it goes, all my senses come to life when I'm something flying through the sky. Those aren't the words, but it goes like that. And I remember bursting through the clouds, and I had my friend Peter Riches, and he had an iPod, and we were listening to that. And yeah, that song was perfect to burst through the clouds to. So if you are flying, plan a song for when you burst through the clouds, especially if you're a nervous flyer. But as I say, once you're above the clouds, things are pretty much fine. And then the other good bit is obviously when you're like, I mean, there's the mid part where you've finished a few chapters of Harry Potter and you're just diddling around. You don't know what the fuck to do. You don't want to have to like think. You just want to fall asleep, but you can't, because I never get that. People fucking sleeping on a plane. That's like going on a roller coaster and having a fucking sleep. I don't understand it. If you're on a plane, like I want to sleep with my head in a bed on the ground. I don't want to be in a fucking plane. Maybe when I'm a trendsetter, the podcast is setting people on fire, like the Joe Rogan cast, and we've got that first class seating on the Emirates with a bed. I'll probably still just lie in my bed being scared shitless, but maybe I'll enjoy it then. But for now, I definitely won't be sleeping on a fucking plane. So I don't know, I think that middle part is hard to push through when you've lost things to do. But then you get to the point where it's like, oh, we're an hour away. An hour, that's like, what, 2 episodes of The Simpsons? We're nearly there. Just think about that. Maybe, what is it, 10 songs in an hour? Maybe I'll fire up the iPad again, choose 10 songs, and I'm there. And by the time you've listened to 5 songs, it's half an hour left. And a few minutes after that, it's 20 minutes, 15 minutes. And then you start to feel it. Oh, I can feel it in my tummy. It's like I'm on a swing. We're going down. We're going down. Just easy does it, pilot. Let's not go all the way down. Let's do it little by little. And that's what he does. He just, ooh. And then he stills it out. And he's like, should we do another one? Should we do another one? Ooh. Should we do another one? Should we do that? Ooh. And then eventually you burst through the clouds again. But this time you can see the ever-reaching happy land that is your holiday. You'll approach the coast. Sandy beaches, the colour you've never seen it before, because, you know, we don't have sand over here that's nice coloured. We just have fucking stones and seaweed. You should if you're not from the UK and you're from a nice country somewhere hot, Google Southend Beach. Have a look at the shit we have to deal with, because that's not a beach. I remember I've been taken as a kid to beaches that have pebbles, or even worse, like gravel. Like fucking gravel. You can't even walk on the shit. Sandy beaches are where it's at, but I meander, and I think it's fine to meander. We will meander from time to time. There is by no means any restrictions here of sticking to a narrative. But if we were to pull the rope back in, we're descending back into the island. The holiday happiness is filling us with joy. Something I like to do is to look at the ocean, and I always imagine when I'm abroad that, I'll see some dolphins or a whale. Because obviously, like, even though there's dolphins and whales near the UK, because it's such a shithole and I'm not happy here, I always imagine that they can't exist. You know, these fairyland creatures of happiness need to be in these tranquil places like where I'm heading to. Haven't even been on holiday to many amazing places, but I remember when I went to Indonesia, really looking at the ocean and thinking I was going to see a whale or maybe a few dolphins. And sometimes when you're high enough, the waves are so big that they'll make like this big white splash that you can almost tell yourself, I did see a whale. That was a whale. And then your head says it was a wave. But then your heart says, no, it was a whale. So I've seen loads of whales. And so you see the whales, and you'll keep progressing into land, and then you start to see the airport. And then a little bit of worry, is this guy capable? Can he do it? But then another sort of appreciation of, well, he's got us this far. Even if he does fuck it up now, at least we're going to crash from a land sort of like 10 meters off the ground. If we're going to crash from any amount of meters off the ground, I want it to be 10 meters, not coming from the top and bombing it straight into the sea. So we're good. We've made it. And then, yeah, you've made it. Everyone's, there used to be that thing. I saw it in American movies, but everyone used to clap when you've landed. Humans don't do that anymore, do we? We're a real sour bunch, aren't we? Like, I don't know what's really happened with humanity, but there's definitely like, it's become so normal to fly through the sky and to have a television and to do like, I'm just going to play some VR games now. It's all fucking normal, isn't it? What's the time? What's the weather today? Instead of sticking your head out the window, you just look on your phone at Google. Oh, weather, it looks sunny, great. Google's never wrong. Fuck yeah. Back in the day when you landed, it was like, not only did I just land, I just flew. My grandparents never flew. And this is amazing. You look at each other, you're like, wow. Give the fucking pilot a big round of applause. As long as he's not late. Obviously, with Ryanair, if he was late, you'd just have to fucking leave a 1-star review and tell him he's a dickhead. But yeah, we should applaud things more. But then maybe we shouldn't. I remember with the NHS thing in the UK, everyone fucking banging their pots and pans out. Oh yeah, go for the NHS. And I was sitting there rolling my eyes. Like, so, I mean, maybe I'm the reason why we don't sit there and clap when fucking pilots land, because they've got sadistic bastards like me on the plane who are just like, oh, come on, he's fucking trained to do it. I could do it. I definitely couldn't. So maybe next time when I land, I'll just start clapping and see if everyone else does it. Because it is a thing, clapping, isn't it? People don't clap when they want to clap. People clap when other people clap. It's only the first person who claps who really wanted to clap. And even that person probably didn't want to clap. They just wanted to make other people clap. They're just fucking with you because they know we're all peasants that follow each other. But yeah, you've made it. And I mean, the reason we're talking about the plane story was essentially I wanted to do an introduction talking about from the pilot's perspective of being the captain. So I guess sit back, lie down. We've landed safely. Stand up, go for a walk, have a run if you can make it. If you can run, I commend you because I can't run anymore. I've got past that point. Grab a beer, smoke a doobie, whatever it is. The Just Swim podcast is here for you. And yeah, we're going to open up the little can of worms and see what's in store for us today. What world problems will we solve today? Whether it be pollution in the environment, starvation, hibernation of animals, whatever it be, we'll figure out something. But I mean, before we start, we should pick the first worm, which is you're probably thinking, where's Woody? And it's a fair question. If one was to get on a plane and see me at the wheel, I would, if you knew me and I was normally co-piloting with Woody, I would definitely say, hang on a minute, Ryanair. He doesn't look like the guy I want flying the plane. And I'd probably step off the plane as soon as possible. But I think with all things in life, people need they need time and space to take a break from things. And without speaking for Woody, perhaps this is one of those times. Yeah, we've had, I think it's almost 20 days now until the upload goes up, and we've managed 17 episodes, and 17 is a very favourite number of mine, so maybe it was just meant to be. But we have managed to do one almost every week, I think every week. So it was a weird one when we didn't do it on the first week, and now we're getting to the second week. I'm kind of like, well, here I am. So, I mean, we can linger on that forever, or we can continue on to the sea of abundant topics that have been stacking up. Because when we don't do the podcast for 2 weeks, these problems, these life issues that humanity has to evolve through discussion and understand, they just keep piling up. And I've been sitting here, I have a little box next to me that all of the world's problems are stored in. It's not big because they're only on tiny pieces of paper, but I have noticed that the lid is slightly pushing up on itself. So we do need to start chipping away at these. But before we do that, we do actually have some topics which have been raised by our community members. And I say community members with a sort of boasting attitude, because yes, we do have community members. The Just Swim podcast Discord is bursting full of 5 individuals, 5 possibly including 2 of which being my accounts, but 5 individuals that honestly, we just sit there and chat the shit from time to time. And we've had a few great discussions. We've tried to establish whether Elon Musk is a cunt or a nice guy, which I think the jury is still out on. I mean, we're not going to figure that out straight away. But we have had some topics raised, and I think some of them, I think, to be honest, I mean, with all of them, I've always said that Woody brings a sense of reality and rationality to the podcast, and I just bring the opinionated, without substance or information. And, if you're looking for sense tonight, then, well, just turn off the podcast. But if you're here for a little bit of tantalizing encouragement and fantasizing of what could be, because I'm quite good at the what could be's, then stick around, because we have community questions. So join the Discord if you want to ask us some. But today we have, hey guys, can you delve into some possible solutions around capitalism, post-capitalism, ? I was actually thinking about this last week. I was thinking about how the Mars colony would operate. So one of our biggest contributors brought this question forward, so he skips to the front of the line. Or she, I don't actually know. I think it's a he. But yeah, this question was interesting, and it's difficult because capitalism is a word which means a lot of things, just like Marxism or whatever it is. And I go through my life sort of assuming I know what these things mean. So I'm going to tell you what capitalism means to me before I answer this. And by the Mars colony, I assume that he's mentioning the idea of Elon Musk starting his own sort of colony of humans on Mars. So capitalism to me is the basic principle of how we operate our economy today in most countries, probably in the country you live in, where we all go to work, we buy things, the supply chains to buy and sell those things. The economy has to be healthy for everyone to have money, for it not to be inflating or deflating, for a currency that's centralized to exist that we all slave away and work our lives for. We spend a lot of time every single day working to feed the beast that is capitalism. We have adverts, we have conglomerate companies, we have small companies, we have corner shops, we have Sainsbury's, big supermarkets. We can loan cars, We can get a mortgage to buy a house. We can buy a house without one. We can buy a glue stick and sniff it. This is capitalism, in my opinion. Now, if that's not capitalism, feel free to leave me a comment explaining what it is, because I won't Google it. I don't do research myself. But if you do leave a comment, then I have to read it because I love reading comments and you can educate me. But can I give you some solutions to the problem that is capitalism? And I mean, that takes a stance in itself, saying that capitalism is a problem, which I would agree with. And I think that a lot of people who listen to the Just Swim podcast or have similar ideologies to what me and Woody have spoken about previously probably agree with that stance. Post-capitalism, that sounds like that means after capitalism. So I don't really know. And I mean, what's he asking? Is he saying that that capitalism comes to an end? Which, I mean, it looks like it's going to, doesn't it? Because we do have an abundance of resource. We have an abundance of exponential technology growth. So where are we heading with this? Is it feasible for me to keep buying pens? I'm holding a pen right now. How long will I need this pen? How long will it be where we don't need this pen because there's just other technologies that replace the fact that I need a pen, just like old phones? But also, when will it become so easy to make this pen that there's no point in paying for it? When will there no longer be need humans to make this pen? So robots will be doing it. So the people who make pens don't need to go to work. The people who write with pens at work no longer have pens because computers will fucking do their... I don't know where I'm going here, but you know what I'm saying. Basically, there's no need for humans to buy shit and do shit and work or anything like that because we have everything. So I personally feel like there's actually, I think about 10 years ago, the younger self of me would be like, oh, it's going to be brilliant. Like, this is an opportunity for us to right all the wrongs, to solve the world's problems, and we won't be these slaves to the system. But I actually have deeper concerns that the less humans need to work, there's two things here. The less you need to work, the more time you have to spiritually evolve, which is great. You can go traveling. You can meditate. You can spend time with your family. Humans might start to become closer to the ever unknown word that is happiness. We might start to understand happiness. We might start to measure happiness and feel happiness rather than just talk about it and chase it. So that might be brilliant. But another thing that I worry about is the regard to which we become useless. Useless to society, useless to each other, and useless to the state. Back in the days when they were building the pyramids, they said they were built with slaves. I'm not sure about that. We'll get onto that later. But, you might have 5,000 slaves in the Pharaoh Egyptian times, all carting stones around and stuff like that. And there's like a slave economy in a sense. And I mean, they're working. But I guess what I'm trying to say is like, if you no longer have to work to get money to buy things, someone has to decide how much you can buy. Because even though we have an abundance, we can't all be driving around in Lamborghinis. It just doesn't make sense. So there has to come a point where someone has to decide who can have what. Or maybe everyone has the same, and you can spend that as you wish. But humans, we're not going to... the rich people out there, Jeff Bezos isn't going to be like, yeah, well, I'll have the same amount as the Domino's worker up the road. So it doesn't really stand. And also, when we talk about you can have everything, well, having everything probably means that there's still work out there. There's still... how do we have everything today? We have Amazon. That's the best way to get everything. You don't get everything from your corner shop, from your small businesses. So really, when we say having everything, we say we want these things, but they're going to be sold to us by a conglomerate who makes everything. And you don't need to work because they have robots helping them. But that conglomerate now has a lot of power. And in actual fact, you haven't removed capitalism. You've just stepped up a gear, because now we no longer have the freedom to run a small business and to define our own destiny of financial income, or financial gain, of financial worth, financial destiny. So post-capitalism, now we've started to go down the rabbit hole that is capitalism. I can't really understand how you get yourself out of that rabbit hole. And so I used to always have this method of like, well, how we should do things is, if I make tables, I'm really good at making tables. Everyone in my neighborhood's like, oh shit, you need a table. You just go to Table Tim. He's the man. Look at the fucking table he made me. This is a shit hot table. Trust me. Go to Tim. He'll sort you out. Person comes to the door, says, can I have a table, please? And I'll say, yeah, what do you do for a job? And he says, I make chairs. And I can say, oh, okay. Oh, you make chairs, do you? Well, that's great, because I've got loads of tables. I don't have any chairs. Can I'll swap you a table. You say, yeah, how many chairs do you want? So, 4? Actually, no, 6. I want 6 chairs. He goes, no, I'll settle at 5. No, I don't want 5. I want an even number. All right, 6. Fine, shut up. We'll have 6 chairs. So we'll swap 6 chairs for 4 tables. And that was my way of saying, well, you should harvest a skill. If you can gain a skill and you can make that skill tradable, then we can all find wisdom in doing the skills that we want to achieve and trading them with each other. And I guess that's kind of, in a way, like a decentralized currency. Only the currency itself is the decentralized nature of skill. I think Elon Musk talks about this a lot when he talks about cryptocurrencies. He says that, the only currency there is in the world is effort, I think is something he says. And we normally use the pound or the dollar or a normal fiat currency to evaluate effort and to reward effort. But I guess in my little system I had as a kid, you could trade all these things, and I mean, it wouldn't really work, would it? I mean, I want to go on holiday, and I turn up to a fucking holiday shop, and they say, "Where do you want to go?" And I say, "I want to go to Tenerife." And they say, "All right, okay, yeah, that's great. You want to go to Tenerife? We can get you there." What do you do? "Oh, I make tables." They look around the office, and they're like, "We've already got 6 tables." And you go, "Oh yeah, but I make really nice tables." And you look around the office and you go, "We've already got some, don't really want any nice tables. Is there anything else you can do?" At which point you just have to say, "Yeah, I'll give you a blowjob. That's all I've got left." That'd be it. And for a week in the Tenerife, that might be fine, but yeah, we don't want to be living in my post-world apocalypse of capitalism. But I mean, a bigger part of the question, which is perhaps a more interesting part, is how a Mars colony would operate. And I haven't had time to really think this through. I haven't had time to think any of this through, as you can probably tell. How would a colony on Mars operate? Well, I mean, there's another worrying thing here, which is that we always have this feeling as humans, like we know best. I think there's an inherent arrogance about us. Just like my ideas there, I used to think they were great ideas, but now I look back at them, I can kind of see that they weren't. So, I mean, how do we start the Mars colony? Well, I'll tell you how we start it. We start it with the viewpoint of, we didn't do things good on Earth. We're going to get this right this time. Let's look at Earth and see what we did wrong, and let's make this perfect. And they're going to be fucking going through the motions. They'll have a Mars Senate. It would be like Star Wars, when they have that huge Senate room, and they'll be like, "This is democracy 2.0, and it will all be brilliant, and everyone on Earth will be looking up, just like, they'll be sending ads down to Earth, like little rocket ships of like, "Come and join us. join the Mars Confederation. And everyone will be talking about it. Everyone will be like, fuck, I just got to get my ticket. Oh, if I can just work for 2 more years, I've got enough to get there. I just want to get to Mars. God, it's so sunny up there, so hot. God, have you seen the desert? Oh, it's brilliant. And they've got these showers that keep you so nice and cool. And they've got Elon Musk and all these other people. God, I want to get to Mars. And then by the time you get to Mars, they'll be showing you adverts to get to Venus. And you're like, oh, fuck, I just want to get to Venus. But my point being is they will run it. They will fucking try their best to get things right. And they won't manage it. And we'll end up in the same situation. If not the same situation, a different situation. Because the problem itself is not... It's not the decisions we make that are the mistakes. It's that we are inherently designed to make mistakes. And that's not a problem. You learn through mistakes. Humanity has learned a tremendous amount through mistakes. But we are not at the point where we won't make mistakes. Now, if we can take some AI bots up there to run Mars and to sort it all out for us, then I think that will probably be fine until the time when we decide that it's boring, because actually I think humans probably like making mistakes. I think we enjoy making mistakes. I think we enjoy suffering. We enjoy living in this strange capitalistic world. Otherwise, where's the fucking revolution, you know? Every time we go through this cyclical motion of trying to say we want change but not really achieving it. And I think it's got to the point where even politicians fucking laugh about it, where they're just like, you know what, these fuckers, all we have to do is just put on a show, argue a little bit. That's all we got to do. Is if we just turn up today at the House of Parliament and we just waffle and talk about some things and not about the real don't talk about the real problems. What about the football? Can we thought out the football? Yeah, let's try to thought out the football. But we don't need to thought about not about the real problem. Fuck that shit. Because they don't care. They don't actually want it. They just want us to fucking talk about shit. They want us to make mistakes, and then it will be fine. They won't complain. And I think that's kind of how politics is. They've realised that the mirage is more important than the reality of actually making any sort of progress. So, I mean, a final point would be... Forgive me. I've been talking a lot at the pub, which gives me this sort of croaky throat. I probably shouldn't have done that. A little bit more coke and rum to nurse the pain. But another problem that I think we have is picking leaders. I think perhaps this might be a previously discussed issue. But I think there's a human tendency to follow the loudest person in the room. If not the loudest, then maybe the tallest person in the room. And speaking as a tall person, I can guarantee you that being tall doesn't mean that I have any more wisdom than you do. My wisdom is normally culled by hitting my head on shit because I'm too tall. So in fact, we should choose small people because they're closer to the ground, more grounded people. But yeah, I mean, we're fucking awful at choosing leaders. And I was thinking about this today because Dominic Cummings, who was the advisor to the president, I say presidency, that's how silly I am, to the Prime Minister of the UK, Boris Johnson, recently resigned. He went on TV today and was just bagging on how ridiculous the UK's management was of the coronavirus pandemic. And he said the following. He said, the idea that I, Dominic Cummings, was in the position of power that I was for the last year, and that the democratic choice for Prime Minister was between Boris Johnson and Jeremy Corbyn is laughable, and it's ridiculous. So basically what he's saying there is he's saying that, you know, why the fuck are people like us being chosen and debated over if we should run a country because we're fucking idiots? And that's kind of what I'm saying, is like within the party, they'll have nominated these people to do X, Y, Z, but we don't actually pick leaders based on qualities that prevail in the situations they are about to lead. You know, I almost think the best person to lead is the person that doesn't want to, because even though they don't want to, they will probably be a better leader than the person that does, because humans, when they want something, they want it for the wrong reasons. So, you know, perhaps every team in humanity should just roll a dice and figure out what the fuck's next. You know, maybe the Mars colony, they just fucking spin a wheel Actually, that's it. You know those magic 8 balls that are in Toy Story, the little toy where you ask it a question and then a little answer pops up on a dice that says like yes, no, maybe, go fuck yourself, all this shit. That's what we need. We need an AI dice ball, like from Toy Story. They need to take it to Mars and say, look, we can't get this right no matter what. So we need to take this ball with us, and every time there's a little bit of politics going on, oh, we've got a little political problem today to solve. Oh, can we figure it out? No, we don't figure it out. We leave it to the ball. And it becomes like a sport. They televise it. Everyone around Mars watches. We all tune in to watch the shake of the ball. Shake, 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 shake. Should marijuana be illegal? Shake, 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 shake. And the ball would say no, obviously, because it's fucking stupid for marijuana to be illegal. But yeah, we could have some sort of random element whereby we no longer involved in decisions. But then what if someone rigs the ball? We'd have to make it provably fair. But still, you see where I'm going. I'd literally rather leave it to rolling a fucking dice than letting any human figure out what is possibly best to do. Because if there's something I've figured out on this planet, it's that humans know fuck all, and I'm dumb as well, so maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe we know everything. And that's it. Community question number 1. Sketch that one out. So, there is more on that I can answer, but actually I think I can follow that into the next question. So, the next question is raised by another of our community members, because yeah, we've got more than one. And this chap, really bright, awe-inspiring chap, actually, is just started a new job, and he is making waves in the world. But he asked, NFTs as the start of VR living, is this a slow transition into becoming a sim? Now, NFTs, we'll have to explain to you what that is. So, non-fungible tokens, it is the latest thing you've seen within cryptocurrency. To explain it in a simple to understand way, it's digital art or digital assets. So, rather than buying the Mona Lisa, I can take a picture of the Mona Lisa, I can put it on the internet, on the blockchain, and you can buy it, and you can own a little piece of the web where that picture sits. Similar to a Pokemon card, rather than buying the deck or, going to the shop and getting a pack, I could buy online a picture of Pikachu, and it could be some sort of game card or something like that. That is a non-fungible token because it's not like a currency token, it is non-fungible. And the question is, NFTs as the start of VR living, is this a slow transition into becoming a sim? So, and there is actually, so VR, virtual reality, so what the question's really saying is, are all of these non-fungible assets that we're becoming interested in the start of us moving into this, like slipping into the appreciation for a VR lifestyle, a virtual lifestyle, rather than a real lifestyle? Are humans going to transition into becoming a sim, a simulated experience? And yeah, I think we probably at some point are going to do that. There's people who question if we're doing that already. I think it's probably a natural progression to maybe get there. Perhaps it would be better. Perhaps that's what we need. Perhaps we've already done that as a species and we're on a different planet right now, just fucking living in little VR worlds. But the interesting part is the assets themselves. So to dive, I'm just going to rewind to the last question quickly. Forgive me for my meandering, but it might set something up for this. The other part of post-capitalism, of all of these abundant of assets and things, is, and the freedom to just have everything and not to work and stuff, is one, as I said, you have more time to be spiritually, experiment and to learn more about yourself. But the second thing is you actually end up being quite vulnerable in the sense that right now we can contribute to the world. We need each other. We need wood. We need paper. So we need someone to cut down that tree and to make it into paper. And I kind of touched on it when I said the state becomes more powerful, but what happens when humans aren't needed as much. And to bring a bit more into that, what happens when you have upper class humans and lower class humans, and some of them aren't needed as much? What happens when we become overpopulated? Probably already getting there. And there's a lot of futuristic films that do this, when you have towers that go into the clouds, and the rich people live in the clouds and the peasants live in the flats on the floor, and they just kill each other just to survive. I think the other film which is interesting is Justin Timberlake. I was going to sing a Justin Timberlake song. It's like I'm stuck in the mirror, oh, and something staring back at me, oh, and it's enough to be promised that I can make it on my own until I can start figuring out you were right here all along. It's like I'm a mirror. That there, I can't remember it. When that song came out, that was an absolute beat. So if you know that song right now, you know what I'm saying. Fucking love that guy. What a voice. But I wasn't a big Timberlake fan, but just that song, wow, what a song. But yeah, he starred in a movie, and I thought to myself, wow, going to be a shit film. He did that other one with Mila Kunis, actually, Friends with Benefits. That was quite good. So maybe I should stop bagging him in. Great guy. He's actually quite good at golf as well, I seem to think, from what YouTube's showing me. But he starred in a film called Time, where everyone, instead of having a currency, they had to get this. It was time. The time left, they had to be alive, and you had to work for this time. And you had like a watch on your arm, basically, that was digital, that was counting down. And the rich people had millions and millions of years of time and would live forever. And the peasants had to go every day to get their time scanned just to live for that day. So imagine you wake up and you have no gift you can bring to the world, because you're not a prince of a rich bloodline. Your parents weren't Jeff Bezos in a past capitalism world. So you kind of have to rely on just getting, instead of council benefits, you get to live for the next day. I think I'm just going to have a sip of drink and let you try and think about that world. Where would you sit in it? Are you a teacher, a doctor? Maybe we'd give you a 6-month contract. You can keep living for the 6 months as long as you're a good doctor. After that, we'll review how good you are. Why are you talking about this when we were supposed to be talking about NFTs? Well, the point is that, yeah, I think we probably are moving towards a VR experience. But once again, with that comes the question of, there's some serious problems that come with that. What if they can create a VR machine and they can advertise it to you, and you can live inside this VR machine, and as soon as you're in there, you won't know, if maybe they can just trap you in there. Maybe they can trap your consciousness inside of a world like Grand Theft Auto. So they just drop you down, you spawn in, and you're all happy because you can do all these things. It's amazing. The first few months, you can't believe it. You can't get out of this game. I can fuck prostitutes every day. I can run around with guns. I can drive fast cars. Look at this jacket I just bought. This is amazing. I couldn't do this in real life. Wow. But there's no escape. You can't click exit to leave the game. And then what actually you realise is that you don't realise it, but there's rumours. Someone left and they came back and they tell you, oh, what they're actually doing is you go into the game and they just take your body, leave you in the game. Your consciousness stays here forever. There's people who have been here for 1,000 years. And that's it. And yeah, that's an extreme situation. It's a bit of a Black Mirror story. But all I'm trying to say is that, as much as these technologies will bring a tremendous liberation to us, and maybe they'll make us spiritually enlightened, maybe we can, maybe things like meditation will become easier with VR. Maybe we'll become more in touch with what we want through VR. But I just think we have to be cautious with all of these things. A is this a slow transition into becoming a sim? You know, well, I mean, yeah, I think we're naturally making that transition. But my biggest fear with all of these things is, like I said to you earlier about how humans fuck everything up and we don't make good decisions. The technology I see emerging today requires good decisions to be made on it. Just like AI. Is AI going to live with us? Will it live alongside us? Will it live inside us? Or will it live opposed to us one day? Will it emerge to oppose us? Will it succeed us? And all of these questions need to be thought about properly. And one, humans are bad at thinking about things properly and making good decisions, no matter how clever people are. The people who are clever are funded to run these projects. They might think they might get a Nobel Prize from their decisions, so they really want the project to work. The companies that sell these projects don't just want it to be something that's good for humanity, they want it to be something that's good for their company. So it's a tricky one. It's a real tricky one. And if we make one decision wrong, which we will, where do we end up then? And what am I trying to protect? You know, what do I love so much about humanity? You know, I can say that the technology we're heading towards is bad. I can say that capitalism is bad. And that it's kind of heading to a point of not bettering itself. There's a lot of times I say the walls are closing in on the podcast. And that is in itself kind of a good thing, because what I'm really saying there is that we have something good. And I don't realize it very often. But we do have something good. And it's something worth protecting. And even though we do make bad decisions, it doesn't mean there isn't a beauty in that. Even if we are a toxic piece of shit species, it doesn't mean there isn't also some beauty in that, in what we've achieved, in what you've achieved, in what your parents and grandparents and your country and, you know, humanity as a whole and nature, everything. The whole way the world is working right now. It's not to say that there haven't been good things achieved. There have been. And that's kind of what I want to protect. I want to protect us from becoming a vanilla product. How good is it going to be if you can live in VR forever and do all of these things? How good, you know, like I said before on the podcast, if you go to heaven, you can do what you want. There has to come a day where you just say to God, please, just, all I want is an off switch. And he just says to you, mate, there isn't one. You just got to fucking do what you want. I want an off switch. He's like, just fucking go to bed. See if you still want it tomorrow. You come back tomorrow. I still want the off switch. And he's like, oh. Says to the angels, that get him some more strippers. Fucking more strippers. A few lines of coke. Shut this guy up. He needs to just get back with the flow of heaven. Abundance is not as beautiful as it sounds. You need a struggle. We enjoy a struggle. And maybe that's why humans are having so many psychological problems these times. Maybe it's not just because we're more medically aware of psychological problems, but maybe it's because we have the space to have them. Because we have excess, we have too much, we have no struggle. There is a struggle out there. I'm not saying your struggle isn't real, but it's a different struggle. So, yeah, I don't know if I've entirely answered that, but that's where that question took me. So thanks for sending it in, community. And the other question, I can only answer from my side, but since starting the podcast, what have you guys learnt about yourselves that you weren't aware of? Question 2, how does that affect the way you approach the game? Context required here for what the game is. Either the game is the game of doing the podcast, or the game he refers to is the game of life. what have I learned about myself through doing the podcast? Well, firstly, if you can't tell from me sitting here rambling to my computer screen and microphone, I enjoy doing this. I've always kind of wanted an audience, and there's a good audience here in the Just Swim cast. I've looked at the stats. I know you're there. I know you are there right now, and that's fucking awesome. To live a life alone isn't fun, and by alone I don't mean not having people around you, but to somehow share your conscious thoughts. It's a brilliant thing, and to have people walk that conscious thought with you. I remember watching YouTubers or gamers online. So you'd have like a gamer that would do like a Call of Duty video of him playing a game. And it was a really interesting thing because I started watching when these people just started popping up, and a lot of them would just talk about how to get good kills on the map, where are the good camping spots, what are their tactics. But soon, bit by bit, a few of them just started talking about their life, and something really magical happened, which was the community, the viewers, everyone like that. We all started realizing, and the creator of the content themselves, that we weren't here for the gaming. We were here for the personality. We had a shared experience in enjoying the game, but we wanted to learn more about the personality. And I love the idea of it because I just imagined, wow, imagine having these fans who have kind of got on board with your project and supported you and known you, really truly known you to a point where, you know, I could talk to the microphone here and, you know, you are anonymous out there listening to an extent. And I can share things. I can talk in a high voice. I can talk in a low voice. I can do lots of things and not really feel like I'm scared about it. So, yeah, it's a brilliant thing to know there's someone out there, and I mean, maybe it's a bit of a segue, but maybe that's how religion started. Like everyone just kind of wants there to be something out there helping them along in life. So I learned that about me. I think, in a weird way, not to be a dickhead and suck my own dick, but I've also listened to the podcast back, and I've occasionally found myself laughing at things that either I or Woody have said or that we've said together, and it's made me happy. But it's also made me think, you're a pretty cool dude, you know, pretty cool dude. And obviously, humor's subjective, but you know, if you can make yourself laugh, you know, try and make yourself laugh right now. It's quite difficult. So if you can make yourself laugh, you must be a funny fucker. And that is it with the community questions. So, as I said, the box is bursting with life problems with the world. We will take a break at some time. I will have to get another drink at some time. These are all things that I don't know how I'm going to edit afterwards because Woody's the chap who does that stuff normally. So we'll just have to see how things go. Maybe it's just a drinks break where you can get a fucking drink as well. Or maybe you're on your phone and you can just do that thing on YouTube that I like to do, which is skipping forward. When I watch a YouTube video, I've started to realise most of the time I fucking just skip through to the bit that I like, and it kind of winds me up. Why do I do that? I just want to enjoy the whole video. But it's just technology giving me the option. Anyway, so let's open the box of world problems. Not just world problems, philosophical questions and things to make you think. And me. So, bring. Oh, God, this is a real... like a parchment scroll with Egyptian writing on it, but don't worry, I can translate. This one looks like it's from about 30 AD, or possibly 450 BC. So, it says, there is zero chance that all of your firmly and dearly held beliefs are true. So, which of your beliefs are most likely to be wrong, and which of them are most liable to be true? This is a bad question to ask me because I've had a lot of interesting beliefs or strange beliefs. I've always been keen to entertain ideas outside of the general narrative, and I think once you look at one conspiracy, you often end up looking at all of the others. But I do actually think that maybe the wall pulled over our eyes is a bit thicker than what society says is acceptable to think. And what I mean by that is there's a general... I mean, the word conspiracy itself very much makes you feel anxious and like you're a numpty. And I think it's kind of cleverly been designed to be that by the media. But I think it's sensible to question things. And in that moment of questioning, you can often find interesting things. And it's just like, you know, what's better, a fiction book or a non-fiction book? Woody would probably say non-fiction, but I would most definitely say fiction, just because, you know, I don't want a vanilla ice cream. I want all of the ice creams put in together, and I want to put my fucking spoon in, and I want to take my first bite and realise it wasn't even ice cream. It was soup. So, I mean, I can't tell you what are my most likely to be true, because, I mean, fucking the shit I think about, probably none of them, but I'll tell you some of my dearly held beliefs. And I don't really, like, I just think about these on a whim. I don't really sit there and fucking think about them every day. But one of the ones that I'm kind of most firm upon is I think that life on Earth is stuck in a cycle. I think that we're stuck in a cyclical environment / situation. And what I mean by that is that Earth itself and humanity and animals, I guess, like just life, is stuck in this never-ending story of life evolving, civilization exploding, and then the Earth and its atmosphere imploding. Why is someone look at this. Someone has just messaged me on Steam that I played games with saying, hey, how's your crypto doing these last few weeks? This is what people do when they don't invest in crypto. So when it's going up and I'm making loads of money, they don't say anything. And then when the papers say that it's gone down 20%, they pop up and say, hey, how's your crypto doing? We'll leave that there. He's a nice guy. It's human to be human. Still fucking rich, mate. That's how it's doing. So we're stuck in a cycle. And what do I mean by that? Well, atmosphere imploding. You're like, what the fuck is this guy going on about? So to give context, I have a book that I read, Miyako, which is about space. Every night I read her a few pages. We look at comets, we look at moons, planets, stars. It's a bit beyond her. I have to really like, the sun is warm. Why is it warm? Because it's a boiling, like it's a burning thing of fire and gas. She's like, what's gas? And I'm like, the sun is warm. But one thing that strikes me is that the moon and all of the other planets have all of these freaking craters on them. And that is from asteroids and things hitting them. It might not be, maybe they're just born that way, but there's a lot of them that look like, you can literally like fucking look at the moon and it has like a hole in it with like a splash pad like all around it, like something hit it, exploded, and looks like it got fucked up big time. And I think we're really blind to this shit. Like we point guns at each other when really we should just be pointing guns at the sky and all like looking out, is there a fucking asteroid coming? And that we should nuke that asteroid before it hits, otherwise we're going to get fucked. So I kind of think that a lot of religions talk about this great flood. You can do some research. I've done research, but I don't remember the ones that I'm talking about. But I think there's like 3 or 4 different religions that all speak about a flood that happened at the same time. This is the Noah's Ark story. And from my research with the old Graham Hancock chap and Randall Carson, they talk about how there was a flood around 11,000 years ago in the time called the Younger Dryas, and that we've drilled down into ice and we can see like the ice age, the change in the atmosphere and all this stuff and everything that's happened. And there's also kind of evidence that there was an asteroid that hit. Okay. Now, regardless of all that stuff happening, okay, I think that we have been here before and that we've done, not all this, but we've done something similar. We've been a civilization. And that we've been wiped out. Because think about it. So think about how old the universe is. Like, it's millions of years, yeah, all that shit, yeah. And then think about how old Earth is. Like, it's not fucking 2,000 years old. It's fucking millions of years old, okay? Now, think of the time frame of when life could exist on Earth. And yeah, you have the dinosaurs. They were there for ages and all that shit, yeah. But what happened before them? Was it just nothing? Or were there dinosaurs before the dinosaurs that got extinct? Or was there something else before the dinosaurs, before the dinosaurs, before the humans, before the humans, before the dinosaurs that got extinct? And I think that we are stuck in this cycle of life being so amazing that we never look up. And perhaps that's just part of the simulation is, just nuke this shit. What if UFOs are just watching us thinking, yeah, these humans are getting a bit much, let's just nuke them again? And I know that's tying like 5 conspiracies into one, but what I'm just trying to say is that I think there's some interesting evidence that's found in Earth through archaeology and things like that that relates to this idea of us being here and civilizations and humans being more evolved in the past. Like there's these structures that are fit together with these stones that are perfectly cut into like a jigsaw pattern that build these temples that we couldn't cut today with our technology, but yet it was done thousands and thousands of years ago. How the fuck did they do that? How did they cut rocks in right angles? How did they cut circles in rocks that are perfectly round? And to just go a bit further than that, I also sometimes walk on the ground and think, like, this hill, what's underneath me? What's underneath the ground? And I'm really stretching the rabbit hole here. You're probably like, geez. I'll leave it with this closing thought. What would your local high street look like if waves 1,000 meters high came and hit it, and then you revisited that place 10,000 years later after it had spent 4,000 or 5,000 years submerged in water? Would you recognize anything? What would the structures look like? Would they be buried? Would you see any technology? Would your TV screen still be there? Or would it all turn into... A lot of metal turns into petrified wood after a very long time, after thousands of years. And then it disintegrates. If you are on that wavelength, I would recommend one final point, which is to go into YouTube and to type in Wise Up, W-I-S-E space U-P, Wise Up. And what you will find is a YouTuber of a guy who's even more crazy than I am. And I believe like 5% of what he looks at. But what he does is he looks at all of these old ancient structures and he draws lines on them and he compares them to how we build buildings today with metal. And he says that like Egyptians found these structures and wrote history and tried to make them as if they were part of their culture and they made them. And they were a part of their culture, but they didn't make them. Because a lot of them show evidence of having like rebar structures, which is how we forge metal together today. Like underground bunkers with like rivets on the walls and stuff like that. And these are thousands of years old. And he like draws lines on the pictures. And some of his videos you'll look at and you'd be like, nah, you're wrong, mate. Like some of them, he looks at a mountain, he's like, this used to be a giant tree. Or he'll look at like a mountain that looks like a man's face, and he's like, yeah, I think this is a giant submerged. And I just let him just do that stuff because he's a great guy. But if you spend around, 2 hours going down the rabbit hole of the Wise Up YouTube channel, I think you'll find 5 to 10 seconds that will make you think, And alongside that, I kind of think when I talk about another belief is that I think kind of religions are all the same, that they probably all talk about the same thing, which kind of goes in with this story here, how I talked about the floods being similar. I think a lot of religions talk about the coming of an event or a person and the leaving of a person, like Christ coming, Christ will come again. The resurrection of a man could just be the resurrection of man. So I kind of think that all religions are the same, or talking about similar events and something that was so important that humans had to document. It's interesting that very old architectural finds like Göbekli Tepe and the pyramids and stuff like that, they're all focused on the sky and the stars. And when you cycle back the amount of years to see what they're aligned with these like stars in the sky at that specific time. But yet science says that those people doing that were just hunter-gatherers, people who didn't live in societies and have culture or intelligence to know what stars were. But if they're lining up their buildings in perfect right angles with the stars over 10,000 years ago, there's something going on there, isn't there? And one of the final things that I would have to say is one of my dearly held beliefs, and I guess it's not really a belief. It's not like a correct or wrong thing, but something I like to say. I said it earlier today. Don't be sad that it's over. Be happy that it happened. And I don't really know where I kind of embodied this quote, but there were times upon my life where I've just kind of looked back on things and often actually said this to myself aloud and found it quite reassuring. It's easy to look back on the good times with sadness, and I think Andy from the Office US version has this killer quote that always gets me, where he says, I wish there was a way to know you're in the good old days before you've actually left them. And he's absolutely right. I think just like the world needs a bullshit man being someone who jumps out when your mate's bigging up the amount of girls he slept with last week and pops out and goes, bullshit, he's talking bullshit. I think we need a good times man. Someone who pops out in the good times and just reminds you, just like, just fucking tell, it's the fucking good times, mate. You guys, you're in the good times. But then I guess maybe the best part of being in the good times is not knowing or caring that you're in them. You're just being involved in something magical and lost. And sometimes the good times just keep going so much that you never really leave them. And so how can you look back on a time that you never left if you're still in them? Like, things are pretty good with me and my family right now. They've always been the good times. So it's hard to look back on it and say, that was the good times. It just is the good times. Some good times are longer than others, and some good times you'll never notice. But there are perhaps The best ones, the ones that you don't notice. But back to my main point, it's important not to be sad when good times are over. Be happy that you've experienced them. And sometimes I'll have something I look back on, maybe a part of my childhood, or when I was growing up, I had a great group of friends, and now my life consists of 4 or 5 core friends, and having a bigger friendship group and being really social was always a big part of my life. And I remember as I went to university and that group changed, or when I left university and just had no group, like saying to myself, don't be sad that it's over, be happy that it happened. And it's always it gives you an element of closure, and not a foreboding willingness to return to those times and to book visits to see my uni friends and to force it all together, but just to smile to myself and say, great, I'm happy that it happened. Do you remember that memory? Yeah, that was good. There'll be other good memories in my life. And there aren't really many things emotionally that I've figured out about myself that really make me feel like I have control of my mind and my emotions. But with this specific point, I can actually say that to myself, and it's like a breath of fresh air hits over me. And I think it's probably my strongest win as a human in the fight that is knowing and controlling and being yourself. I got the new car, by the way. It's parked up the road. It's fucking amazing. Anyway, so on to another important life question. If you owned a 5-star restaurant, what would you serve, and what would the name of the restaurant be? Well, to start with, I'd have to serve my magical burgers. And by magical, my burgers are magical. It's something to do with the concoction of just beef, bacon, cheese, gherkins, onions. I need to start dabbling with pickles, because I think pickles really bring something out in the McDonald's burgers. But I can make a good burger. And what I sometimes do is I put all of that stuff, I wrap it in tin foil. So I fry it in the pan for a bit first, and then I wrap it in tin foil, put it in the oven, and let it all cook, sealed in the tin foil. And the juices from everything is just... So yeah, it'd be Tim's Tinfoil Burgers. That would be my restaurant, and it would be a 5-star Michelin star restaurant. Everyone would come, and I'd be sitting out back, just me, smoking a doobie, chewing on an onion ring, cooking the burgers. If you could be a fly on the wall, where would you land? It's hard to not say something perverted here. I would probably land... I'd be good to land in somewhere like MI6 headquarters and find out the real shit. Just as they're opening up the UFO documents, just land on the shoulder, have a little peeky weeky. I'd land somewhere I wasn't going to get swatted, to be honest, because, like, if I'm a fly, fuck my life. This question didn't even tell me if I can turn back into a human. If you could be a fly on the wall, where would you land? Fucking nowhere, mate. I don't want to be a fly on the wall. Shit question. Do you believe in ghosts, and would you ever go ghost hunting? I've never seen a ghost, and people who talk about seeing ghosts just fucking make me like, oh yeah, really? Yeah, you thought fucking ghost, did you? Great. I remember someone saying that their gran had passed away, and a week after a bird came and sat on their windowsill, and she just knew that it was her gran. Moment silence for that piece of wisdom. So yeah, I struggle with ghosts. I mean, UFOs, I'm right there. It's like, I feel like it's somewhat tangible for life to be out there in the world. Ghosts, to me, if they were something, they would just be something like slipping through a dimension or something that we don't understand the visibility of. I don't think a ghost is someone coming back from the after death in a tangible form that looks like a see-through thing. I think just like the way we think about like maybe kids won't be scared of ghosts if we just stop talking about them in books and media in the future. Because now we're scientifically kind of past the point of religion and the afterlife, so no, I don't believe in ghosts. Will I go ghost hunting? I mean, it might be fun just to fucking not find them. It doesn't mean shit doesn't scare me, though. It doesn't freak me out. Like, I walked past a haunted house, well, I say haunted, like a run-down, decrepit house the other day, and I still looked in, I was like, yeah, fucking, I wouldn't go in there. I think that's just films and media training me to be scared of those places. How do you handle people that you don't like? I think over the years I've got a bit better at this. I think I'm actually quite combative with people that I don't like. And not in a way to be an arsehole, but I think if someone's openly an arsehole to you, you shouldn't be afraid to just be an arsehole back. I think one thing people struggle with in this world is eye contact. And I struggle, if I respect you, then I can struggle with eye contact as well. Like, I'll look at you every few words I say, but I'm not going to stay here looking at you like this and just looking into your eyes because it's just weird. But if you've said something to me and I don't like it, or if you've done something, sometimes people at work who undermine other people to get themselves up, you're going to be getting my eye contact. And I'm just going to be looking at you, just like this. And it's just my way of saying I know what you're about. I'm not a fucking idiot. I'm extending my eye contact gaze with you. Look away, bitch. Look away. Fucking walk away from my eye contact. Because if you've got long arms like me, you're probably not going to win in a fight. Unless it's a reaching fight contest. So you just fucking hit them with the eye contact. But yeah, in all honesty, I mean, the people I don't like, I don't come into contact with because I just avoid them. I really limit the amount of time I expose myself to other people. Yeah, if you're not worth my time, then you don't get it. So I'm not going to end up spending time around you to handle you and make sure you know I don't like you. What is the stupidest way you've ever hurt yourself? So this was a great one. I remember back in the day of growing up, and we used to play Call of Duty 4 with our friends online on Xbox 360. And it was great. I would wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning, play an hour before school. I would go to school. I would get back. I'd play from 5 until fucking like 10:30, 11 o'clock. And my parents used to really be against that shit. But I think it just got to a point where I was like a teenager and it was just like, that's what he does now. And I guess I was playing with friends, so it's kind of like he's not just playing games, at least he's fucking talking to his mates, so whatever. On the way home from school, I'd get 2 cans of Dr. Pepper, I'd get a pack of sweet chili or Thai chicken crisps, I'd get a little bit of chocolate, and obviously, as we've said before, crisps before the chocolate, and I'd sit there on the sofa, I'd actually hide all that shit under the sofa and take it out one by one, so if my mum was ever coming down the stairs, I'd like, oh, fuck it, all right, shove it all under the sofa, and then I didn't look like I was just drinking shit all the day. Those were some of the best times of my life, though. I remember one summer where I just sat there playing Xbox Call of Duty 4, which is the best Call of Duty, with my friends. And I can still remember some of the good kills that I got doing a no-scope or something like that. Like, they still resonate in my head and discussions that we had. And I remember, like, looking back at that summer, I remember talking to people like, we played Call of Duty all that summer. And we'd all just look at each other and be like, yeah, it was fucking great, wasn't it? Not a day outside, just COD every day. That was great. But how did I hurt myself? Well, one day I asked my mum, so I go out of the room where the Xbox is and I say, Mum, could my friend Callum come over for a sleepover? Because he'd come over for a sleepover, we'd play Call of Duty, we'd take it in turns, we'd chat shit, and we'd just mates, so it'd be great. And that was a thing. It's kind of weird when you think about it, a sleepover. Like, imagine what Woody would say if I said to him, do you want to come over for a sleepover? That'd be a bit weird. bring your sleeping bag, mate. But yeah, so she said, that he could sleep over. So I ran back from the kitchen into the Xbox room, call it the Xbox room, the room where the Xbox was, like the study. And as I went through the doorway, I did a little skippity jump. And it was like a celebration, like, yay! It was like on the way. And I probably said like, yay at the same time because my Xbox headset would have like picked it up. So I kind of wanted Callum to know that it was a yes. And I just remember jumping up. And as soon as I got like 10 centimeters off the ground, just feeling dizzy and just crashing to the floor. And what had happened is I had jumped up and cracked my head on the door frame. So there's like a frame to the door, and I just jumped straight into it. And there's still a lump on my head where they like glued it back together. But the weirdest thing about it was just the ultimate confusion that my head went through of just going through absolute like happiness where you're a kid and I literally skipped with joy. Like I was there. I was playing Call of Duty. I was about to have a sleepover. Life is brilliant. So I jumped in the air. And I fucking fell to the ground, and I was dizzy, confused, put my hand on my head. Oh, there's blood over my hands. A second later, there's blood all over my eyes. What's going on? And I remember my mum putting my head over the sink, and she was like, do we need to call an ambulance? I don't know. And they didn't call an ambulance. They just drove me to the hospital, and they sorted it all out. But she was saying to my stepdad, Matt, at the time, like, because I was just saying, oh, no, I don't think I need to go to hospital. Like, no, I think you'll be fine. And I remember my mum saying, like, Matt was saying, like, maybe he's all right. And then my mum saying to him, nah, he's just saying that because he wants to play Xbox. And yeah, she was right. Even when I cracked my head, I was like, oh, no, it's fine. More Call of Duty. So yeah, that was the stupidest way I ever hurt myself. But other than that, I think another thing I once did actually was I was at a friend's house. And we were playing hide and seek in the dark in the garden, like kind of like you've got to catch the other person, whatever. And this was one of the most painful things I ever did, which was I didn't know this garden. I hadn't been there before. But you know when you see like trees, like almost like Christmas trees. Imagine a row of Christmas trees that are quite tall in the back of the garden near the fence. Underneath the gap where the tree branches stop, there is like an empty gap of like where the trunk is and then where the ground hits. So it was getting towards the end of the countdown for the hiding. So ready or not, here I come in a minute, and it's black outside. Okay, it's pitch black pretty much, apart from the little few garden lights that are around. So me thinking there's a gap there, it's dark under there, I'm gonna run and dive under there. Now, what was even better was, obviously, because I'm a fucking action man, warrior Tim, age 14 or something, I'm not just going to run and dive. I'm going to chuck a forward roll into it, aren't I? So yeah, I ran and I started to do my forward roll dive, and I was quite lucky that the problem that happened early on before I'd got to the part of somersaulting into the dive. But as soon as I brought my knee forwards to go into the dive, my knee stopped, and there was this excruciating pain, which was that underneath this fucking bunch of trees, there was a boulder, like a huge stone, just in a circle. I remember going back to this house like a few years later and looking at it and just being like, why the fuck? Like, is there any other boulders in your garden? No. Why is there a boulder under your tree? Is that some sort of landscaping? Like, fuck me. But the worst part of it was, so to give context, just in case you didn't catch that, I'd brought my knee forward and just whacked it straight into this fucking boulder, and I was moving it as hard as I could to prepare for a spring jump to move forwards into a somersault. Luckily, I didn't somersault my head first into the fucking rock. But the worst part was the blinding pain and the, just similar to when I cracked my head open, just not understanding what had happened. Because, and it's also the unexpected, like you're ready to do a forward, your head's there, and then just pain. Like when you're cooking and you burn yourself with the pan, your head knows that you've burnt yourself with the pan. Like, you can and then your head says to itself, you'll be better in about 5 minutes. Just run it under a tap. Like, and the pain starts to go away just knowing that. But the pain when you don't know what the fuck has happened is like just excruciating. And I remember screaming, just like, this is awful. Like, this is absolutely awful. And all of the parents came out to the fucking house and like they took me inside. And these were I remember a few parents like looking down at me and making me feel like I was like, oh yeah, there's always one kid. We just want to sit inside and be parents and have a drink and chill and chat. There's always one fucking kid who ruins it and has to hurt themselves. Oh, he's a crybaby. What a mummy's boy. And I remember like feeling a little bit like that. And like they would look at my leg and be like, what's wrong with him? Oh, he's hit his leg. And it wasn't even bleeding. Like, my leg wasn't bleeding. But my bone on my knee, I can feel my kneecap now, and it feels dodgy thinking about the pain, had gone straight into this stone. And it wasn't cracked, because you can't really crack it in that way. But, like, to give context, the next day, all of the kids in these families, we all went to this swimming pool with rapids, and I still couldn't walk on my leg. And my mum was like, well, if you swim in it, you'll feel better. It will make your legs start to feel better. God knows, whatever, okay. And I just remember this most amazing pool with loads of rapids and just being sad because I genuinely couldn't fucking do shit. I couldn't sit and go on a slide. I couldn't, like, I'd be swimming through the water and kicking with one leg and moving with my hands. And then I'd find like the steps to get out of the pool and just like cling to it and just be like, oh, and just dangle my leg in the water. Just useless. So that was fucking painful. It was fucking painful. What would you rather be in school, the most popular kid or the smartest kid? Well, I mean, I don't like popular kids. I wasn't the popular kid. I was popular amongst the unpopular kids, and I think that's actually the best part to be, because then you're kind of like a god, because you can still liaise with the popular kids and kind of sit in between them all. But you're not so shy that, you know, but you still get bullied just like everyone else because you're not a popular kid. But, you know, bullying was like, you know, it was pretty tame. So I guess I would actually rather be the popular kid, which is a bit of an insult to smart kids out there. But where does intelligence actually get you in the world now? Like, I know what the people were doing who got A stars at school and went to top universities to study top degrees. And I went and did a drama degree. I dicked around in school my whole life. But I could communicate. I could understand people's emotions. I understood my own emotions somewhat. I could have fun. I could be fun. And those skills have definitely got me further in life than some of the people who I remember who would look at me and be like, we've got an exam tomorrow, you're not revising, like, you're such a fucking idiot, Tim, like, you're going to regret this. You're going to massively regret this. I remember even one of my friends, like, I used to take the piss out of him for how much he revised, and he's like, yeah, well, I'm just not going to be a fuck up like you. And, like, I just kind of, like, think about it like, nah, mate, I'm doing all right. It's fine. It's all good. Enjoy your degree. Got my drama degree. It was great fun. Live the dream. So, yeah. I mean, be a popular kid, be a smart kid, be somewhere in between. Don't define yourself too much. School doesn't actually matter. It doesn't define you unless you let it. So, yeah. These questions, God, this box is really chucking up some not so juicy ones. I guess we save those for the double casts. So, what personality trait has gotten you most in trouble? So, I think it would have to be my desire to be a justice warrior. So, I think when I see something not working, not in the same way Woody tinkers with things, when I see social things not working, or when I see people being not rewarded, I'm a bit of a justice warrior. And I think psychologically it stems from my parents divorcing and not fully understanding why, and just not really understand and feeling that it wasn't fair on me. So ever since in life, I've kind of become a justice warrior. And I notice it in myself a lot. And I think that what I just did there was I kind of tied one of my things that I do to an emotion and or a behavior that I do, but to a past event in my life. And that's like psychoanalyzing, yeah. And I think you can go into those things a lot, quite deeply, but there are some merits and value to be found in it. So I do need not even that, like a 1 minute break. So hopefully I don't even need to edit this out. But I think it's a perfect time for you to think about what are some of the traits that have gotten you in trouble. Maybe not in trouble, but what's some of the traits you think of, or maybe things that you don't like about yourself and your behaviors. And then I want you to think about your life and the big events in your life. Not necessarily bad ones, good ones as well, or maybe someone passing away, or maybe someone being born, just these big events in your life, things that have changed your life. And then think about that trait and see if there's any sort of similarity or link between them. Be right back. Yeah, and I was like, oh, I'm fucking in the middle of the podcast. And I went in and she said, I'm so proud of you. I guess that's my reward because I was a bit nervous about doing the podcast on my own. And Claudia's proud of you. Anything in the world is possible. Are you proud of me? I'm proud of you. We're getting towards the end of these questions here. So that's a bit of a weird place to take a break. What is the best piece of advice you've ever received? So the best piece of advice that I've ever received is something that I experience almost every day being a parent. And it's quite simple. My mum told me this when I was younger. The easiest thing in the world as a parent is to say yes. So the main way that parents go wrong in parenting is to say yes. And yes, as a parent, is quite an easy snowball because you say yes to one thing, and a lot of the times that means you'll say yes to the same thing next time. So I kind of fight about a lot of things. So like earlier today, Miyako, she got back from nursery, and normally when she gets back from the nursery, she'll have like a treat. So like whether it be a cake or a biscuit, or sometimes it will just be fruit. But something that she likes, so she can do her homework, her little colouring or whatever, and she'll have a little snack. Okay, she looks forward to it on the way home. So once you got that from the first day, the second day, when literally every day when I pick her up from the nursery on the way home, we'll be walking. You had a nice day, and she'll say, "When I have something nice when I get home." And when your little chidler asks you with a voice like that, you say, "I think so." And I don't think that's a bad thing. But then a lot of the times I kind of think like, so afterwards Claudia gave her a bowl of strawberries. And I'm not, if you listen to this, Claudia, I'm not calling you out, but she just had a cake and then she wanted some strawberries. And I was kind of like, no, she can have the strawberries after her dinner. And then Miyako was like, but strawberries are healthy. And I was like, I don't care if they're healthy. You just had a cake. You don't need strawberries now. I think she had some strawberries. But I tend to try and set the lines quite strict because I know that once you open the door to the yes, you then open the door to the yes next time. But it's not just about things like that. It's also about like when you go shopping, can I have a toy please? Can I have a toy please? You say yes once, then you'll be saying it all of the time. And it's easy to say yes, but saying no is much more character defining for your child, because life itself isn't a list of yeses. Every corner you face in the world, unless you have a perfectly planned destiny and life, and you are somehow walking that tightrope, dangling through the interwebs and space before us, then your world will often be full of no's. And you need to be comfortable with no. You need to find solitude in no. And once you do, you can start to turn that no into a yes, or swap that question that you asked that resulted in a no into a different question that results in a yes. So we all have struggles in life, and yeah, I think that's the best piece of advice I've ever received. And with that, I reckon I'm going to wind down out of here. I could go on, I could ramble a bit longer, but I think in all honesty, you know, as I said, I can be a bit of a rambler, I can be a bit wacky around the edges, and I think within that maze there's some beauty to be found. But my throat hurts. I spoke too much at the pub. I'm a speaker. So I didn't save my voice for you guys. But I must say one thing, which is that I really enjoyed speaking with you today. We have now arrived at our destination. I hope you enjoyed the flight. I hope it wasn't too turbulent. I hope you enjoyed the little bag of nuts. I hope you enjoyed the tray of food. I hope you enjoyed the overpriced drinks. And I hope that when your child looked in the magazine and saw the little picture of the plane that they could buy, "Oh, can I buy this plane? It's the same as the plane we're going on." I know someone who bought that plane for their child. And every time I remember seeing that happen, a little bit of me died inside. So yeah, that's it. This has been episode 18 of the Just Swim podcast. Sign up to the Discord, converse with us, become part of the community, become part of the team. I hope you have a lovely weekend. I hope you have a lovely following week. I hope you are persistent in enjoying life, being happy, and more than anything, thanks for watching.